You want to build an audience. You want to build a brand. You want to monetize your podcast. But the trouble is, everything that you do is on rented land. You are building your community, your groups, and your audience on someone else's platform. This is the reason that you need an email list for your podcast. Now, I'm going to go into the ins and outs of that right now. And we do talk a lot about podcast growth and a lot about podcast marketing over on the Captivate blog, actually. In fact, we've got a huge podcast marketing and growth tutorial at captivate.fm/marketing that is sort of a companion piece to this particular piece of content. Let's dig into what we currently do when it comes to building our audience. Well, ordinarily, we publish our podcast and we'll pop it on our host like Captivate, and Captivate will distribute that out to Apple and to Spotify and all of the other aggregators out there. And then what will happen is that someone will listen to the podcast and they'll try and get in touch, or we'll encourage them to try and get in touch. And maybe we ask them to tweet us. Maybe we ask them to hop onto our Facebook group because it's nice to see the community over there. Maybe we ask them to follow us on Instagram. Ultimately, we want them to engage with us. But what so many podcasters don't do is they don't actually encourage people to join their email list. And it's a mistake that podcasters in the early stages of podcasting tend to make. The reason for that is that it can be quite complex. Email marketing and wondering what the heck an email database and an email list is, it can be quite tough. That's why services like Aweber exist. So I use Aweber for my email marketing. And what they do is they make it easy to get people onto an email list, to comply with all of the specific GDPR, CCPA, all of the CAN Spam Act regulations so that you can be sure that you're covered. So kind of all that geeky tech stuff is kind of taken care of. And then hosts like Captivate, where we provide you with a website, we integrate with places like Aweber. And that means that basically, look, all of that tech stuff that you need to worry about with an email list is all done. It's all taken care of. That's all that worry out of the window. The problem is that when we, as podcasters, sort of in the infancy of our podcast, what we tend to do is we do all that stuff I mentioned, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we get people to engage with us on those platforms because it looks really, really good to have 10,000 followers on Twitter or to have a highly engaged Facebook group. But the problem and the challenge with that is if regulations change, we might not be able to do something with those numbers. If the algorithms change on any given platform, we've seen this on Facebook countless times, things change. Ultimately, what that means is that Facebook decides, well, we're not going to show content from groups to people in the group because we want people to pay for advertising. Or, we're going to surface more video content than we are text content. So all of our comments and our written threads kind of get pushed down the algorithms. They don't get seen as much. So the engagement, if we build our tribe over on another platform, what happens is we're at the whim of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these other different places. And like I said, in the infancy of a podcast, so many people do that. They say, well, that's cool. I'll build a following over on social media. It's not great for scalability. Look at every online brand. Think about any brand, whether that's an online entrepreneur, a solopreneur, whether that is a sofa shop, whether that is a tech platform, whichever option you look at, they have all got email lists, whether that's a newsletter or a sales list, whatever, they have an email list. Now, the reason that you need one for your podcast is not only do you own that data, so yeah, sure, Aweber keeps a hold of it for you to make sure it's regulatory and make sure it's covered. You could move from Aweber to another email marketing platform. You could move from MailChimp or ConvertKit to someone like Aweber. You take that list where you are. You own that data because it's called permission-based marketing. Someone proactively opts in to being on your email list, and that is worth so much more than a transient passerby. Someone that says actively, yes, Mark, have my email address to get in touch with me. That is so much more usable, so much more valuable than just someone visiting a Twitter profile or engage with you even just a little bit. I'm not going to go into how you create lead magnets and so on and so forth. That's for another episode. What I will say is that that's the important part. You own that data. It's opt-in, it's permission-based, it's higher quality. Think about it. The old Kevin Kelly, 1,000 true fans. Would you rather have 10,000 Instagram followers that kind of just keep on scrolling, or 1,000 100,000 email list subscribers that open your emails and engage with you and click the links that you send. That's what we're aiming for. So it's quality, not just quantity of audience. It's important that we do this as a podcaster because we have to own our brand. We have to own our audience. We have to be able to say to someone, you've listened to the podcast, now get on my email list and I can warm you up and I can talk to you and drip feed you content and get you to know me and like me and trust me a little bit more. And then maybe, just maybe in the future, we'll work together. You'll spend some money with me. Maybe you'll join my Patreon campaign. Maybe you'll give me some money for a private podcast, or you want some merchandise, or maybe we'll do some consulting, some service work together. Whatever you sell as a podcast brand, an email is still the best way to communicate. There's a reason, like I said, that every brand in the world operates an email list. So you have to have an email list for your podcast. If you don't, you are leaving chances to monetize on the table. That I guarantee you. If you need a hand, check out the other content right here. We've got information on how to build an email list. This is very much why you need an email list. We've got information on lead magnets. We've got information on how to build that email list. We often do partner content with email marketing people like AWeber, like Robin Kennedy. On the YouTube channel alone, we've got webinars with AWeber, Robin Kennedy on how to build your actual email list up. So look, please don't delay on this one. It's one of the biggest regrets that podcasters a year or more in have is that they didn't start their email list sooner. So don't be one of those people, all right? Get on it. Email marketing, it's the way that you build a loyal audience for your podcast.